Hey guys, Mackie here at the YouTube space, Toronto. We're filming with the Nintendo Switch. This is 1-2 Switch. We're going to be trying all 28 games right now, starting with Telephone. So the first game we played was Telephone, where you put your Joy-Con on the table and wait for the phone to ring. First person to pick it up and say hello is the winner. The game is fun, although pretty shallow, and it's just a test of reflex. The next game is Ball Count, where you tilt your Joy-Con controller and try to guess how many balls are inside of a box based on the vibrations and rumbles in your controller.
Balls are inside the box.
Both players will input their guess, and the player who is closest will be the winner. This is an okay tech demo for the rumble in the Joy-Con, but otherwise, again, pretty shallow and useless as a game. The next game we tried was Zen, where you pick a yoga pose, and then you try not to move. Whichever player moves the most is the loser. Personally, I didn't really find any enjoyment in this game. Next up is Treasure Chest, where you pretend that your Joy-Con is a treasure chest wrapped in chain, and you have to move it around using the movement controls and the gyro inside to unchain the treasure chest. Whoever's first wins. I actually had a lot of fun playing this, although it is pretty shallow of an experience, as most of the games are. Next is Milk, which I'm sure many of you have heard of. You pretend to milk a cow. This one's actually pretty fun. Next up, we tried Safe Crack, which is a game that highlights the HD rumble in the Joy-Con controllers. Essentially, you'll be moving around your hand and trying to feel a different vibration in the controller. And as you do that, you're going to lock in the safe and continue on until you get 3 perfect locks to open the safe. First person to open the safe is the winner. Next up is Quick Draw. I'm sure you've seen it. It's a test of reaction time. First person to shoot the other person after the guy tells you to fire is the winner. And it's pretty fun, although ultimately a game of reaction. Next up is a fun game called Samurai Training. One person tries to swing the sword to kill the other person, and that person tries to block by catching the sword in the air. You take turns until someone dies. Feel free to use distractions to make it even more fun. Next up is Sneaky Dice, which sounds a little bit confusing. That's because it is. Essentially, you both roll a pair of dice, and then the other person knows how many dice are in your cup based on the vibrations in their controller, and then they can try to trick you into re-rolling if you have something high, or trick you into not re-rolling if you have something low. And then essentially you both open up your palms, and whoever has the biggest score is the winner. Next up is Signal Flags, which is one of my favorite games in the collection. It kind of works like Simon Says. If it's a female voice, you do as the voice says, and if it's a male voice, you do the opposite. The person who listens the best and does the most actions correctly is the winner. Next up is Soda Shake, which honestly doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense to me. Essentially, you shake a bottle of soda, and the person who makes it explode is the loser. But it's kind of confusing as to how it works, honestly. Next up, we have Shave. I actually had a lot of fun playing this one, and you just shave your face. Yep. Next up is Joy-Con Rotation. I didn't enjoy this one as it involves very precise movements, but you pick up a Joy-Con controller, you try to rotate it, and then you bank your points by putting it back down. If you're too jittery, you'll lose all your points, so you have to try to bank. It's a little bit of risk and reward. It's okay, but it's not a lot of fun. Next is Table Tennis, probably the most fun game in the 1-2 Switch bundle. You play table tennis based purely on the audio cues, and that's it. It's a lot of fun to play with another person. Next up is the Baby Game. It's recommended that you play in tablet mode, and it's only a one-player game. You try to put a baby to sleep, or in my case, you try to make it end up in the hospital, and that's the entire game. Next is Fake Draw, which is exactly like Quick Draw, the shooting game, except this time he'll psych you out by saying things like fromage, and you can only fire when he says fire. Next up, we have baseball. There's a pitcher and a batter. The pitcher tries to throw the ball, and the batter tries to hit the ball. That's baseball. Next up, we have Eating Contest, which is one of the most absurd games, but because of that, it's a little bit fun. You use the right Joy-Con in order to put it up to your mouth, and you open and close your mouth to try to eat the most. Next up is Beach Flag. You run towards a beach flag. Once you reach the beach flag, you reach out and you grab the beach flag. Then I tried out Wizard, and I have absolutely no idea what I did. You wave your hands around, and then you try to cast spells on people. Next is Sword Fight. That one's pretty self-explanatory, isn't it? Then we have Boxing Gym, where we use a combination of straights, hooks, and uppercuts with a finale of fast punches to try to win a boxing fight. Next up, we have plate spin, where we use our Joy-Con controllers as plate spinners. Whoever spins their plate the best is the best plate spinner. The next game was copy dance, where you strike a dance pose and the other person has to match your dance pose. I'm not going to show you guys me dancing because nobody wants to see that. In runway, you strut your stuff down a runway based on musical notes. In air guitar, you play an air guitar. In dance off, you have a dance off. And in gorilla, you summon your inner Harambe by beating your chest to the rhythm of the jungle in order to get a hot gorilla girlfriend. And now, in case you're wondering how you're going to be playing these games, you can use the normal game mode by just selecting a game mode. You can use shuffle, where it'll give you a random game mode, or you can use team battle, which I assume most people will be using. That's just going to put you in a team, and it's going to randomly have a tournament style of games, similar to something like Mario Party, where you compete, and the people who win the most sets of competitions end up the big winners. So the big question, is 1-2-Switch worth your time and worth your money as a new Nintendo Switch owner? And I think the answer is yes, but not maybe for the reasons you think. Number one, I think 1-2-Switch is probably the best software out there to showcase the hardware of the Nintendo Switch. It's a great tech demo, even if the game is somewhat limiting. However, with that being said, you will need to play this with someone else, and this is not a game you can enjoy on your own. On top of that, a lot of the fun you'll be having is purely dependent on the company that you're spending your time with. If you get together a group of friends, they can probably make any scenario fun, and that includes playing 1-2-Switch together. Overall, each individual game is pretty basic and pretty shallow, but it'll also kill a lot of time if you have friends that are interested, and honestly, I think you get a couple of hours out of it at a party, as long as the people you're playing with are open-minded. Thank you so much for watching my quick review of 28 different games in a compilation, which we're going to be calling 1-2-Switch. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you drop a like. Special thanks to Drop Dead Artemis and Darth Dave89 for supporting the show on Patreon. Hopefully I see you guys next time. Peace!